Well, good evening, everyone. I am beyond thrilled. It is time
Folks,
for us to start the episode 4 of our Focus on Faith web series. And tonight I couldn't be more excited. I have been kind of a little giddy all week at how much I could not wait to introduce everyone to you guys today. So tonight's episode 4 is Who Runs the World? These ladies.
girls.
Girl. This episode is about behind the scenes power brokers. And it's HERS for a reason, because it's all women all night, just for you, sharing their wisdom, sharing their success, sharing their keys to how they've made it where they are. And I can't wait. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with our housekeeping and other things before we get to my esteemed guests. But of course, you guys know how these things go. I've got to start out with a little housekeeping. First of all, thank you all who registered. I heard we may have been close to a sellout in virtual Zoom land, if not a sellout, which really just means we have a capacity in these rooms of about 100 or so. And if we exceed the capacity, then we actually do have a backup. We've got a plan B, of course, and you can join us or tell your friends to join us on Facebook Live. So it doesn't mean you can't get in. It just means we sold out, and we get to say we sold out. So thank you all who registered. As you might know, Soul Reciprocity Network has partnered with a couple of amazing charitable sponsors. The kind of foundation of this company is all about giving back and reciprocal relationships and people benefiting from them, and all that comes from that. And so what we decided to do was, instead of charging people for our conference meetings or our webinars, we wanted to encourage you to participate and donate to charitable sponsors that we've had the opportunity to partner with. So we have partnered with the James Brown Family Foundation, who do amazing things in the community and in the arts. And we have also partnered with the Gospel Music Association. This is the Focus on Faith series. We are all about the intersection of genres, of socioeconomics, of different people from different backgrounds, careers, anything. We're all about bringing sort of a little mosh pit of folks together who ultimately find ourselves really in complete alignment in so many ways. And I think it helps to really sever a lot of barriers and get a lot of understanding of what all of us do in various parts of the industry and how we all can benefit one another. So I encourage you, it's not mandatory, of course, but if you somehow missed it, which you know you can't even go to register until you see the donation part. But if you missed it by some chance, please go back. There's no minimum requirement, but we would love for you to help them out, because both organizations have had a lot of success in helping a lot of people in the entertainment industry during COVID, which has hurt a lot of parts of the industry and really created a lot of devastating effects. And so, let's support those who support us. Thank you. Okay, so I think I'm ready for us to get started. I'm going to do brief. Now, I have said this for the last 3 episodes, and then I get these amazing people where I could go on, we could just spend a whole hour on just one. So this is what we're doing. You guys have been to soulreciprocitynetwork.com, because that's where you registered. You're also going to make sure that after you hear these powerful women and what they have to say and their amazing roads to success, you're going to go back there, and you're also going to read the more lengthy version. And I always say that, and then I go on, because I love bragging on my people, and especially my girls. So let's get started. I'm not also going to do what I usually do, which is say, oh, to my left, because I guess the boxes, depending on what you're looking at, may not be that, and then you'll think I'm crazy. First of all, thank you for having me in your living rooms, wherever you are right now, in your cars. I'm Heather Beverly. I'm an entertainment attorney. I am the founder also of the Soul Reciprocity Network. And these web series that we're doing is a part of our edutainment initiative. So in addition to the branding and consulting and other things that we do with strategic partnerships and things for our clients, we also want to give back to you and make sure that we give you some educational, but also entertaining content that you can participate in and enjoy. So without further ado, I'm first going to introduce one of my producers. It was such an honor for me to not only be working with a woman like this, but also to be able to have her as a guest, as her credentials and career so greatly deserve. Adrian Biondo is a producer. She's been a manager. She's an event planner. She's in touring on the highest level of all high levels. She's my producer. Lucky me. Thank you, Derek Wilson. Her passion for the arts and entertainment began when she was a child, as most of these ladies did. And she grew up in Miami. She learned production, stagecraft, and many of the skills that she uses today in her career. She began her career in music as an artist manager and a club promoter, as I mentioned. And she grew and started doing, was director of publicity and radio, and developed her skills into a production team of 11 radio station cluster. As an event director there with a chain of 75 stores nationally, and an arena event director, marketer, and a VP of marketing for an international concert promoter. Listen, she moved through a few more things. I said a lot right there, so hold on.
I need to say that. I need to represent you because you are a personality.
Okay. Come on, Dr. Carter. Come on, let's do it. I keep telling you we got things to do. I've been telling you that, Holly. National event director for an instrument retailer, chain of over 75 national stores. That was one job in her career. She's also been an arena event director and marketer and a VP of marketing for international concert promoter. Now, ultimately, she found her home working on the road. And this is where Adrian really has shined for most of her career. And she has been in the touring business with acts like, I get to say it in the list, right, Adrian? Michael Jackson. Let's go home. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, Neil Young, Wiz Khalifa, the Black Keys, amongst others. Pivoting, because we've all had to pivot in the last year with COVID. Adrian has also started with some of her colleagues an amazing organization and group called TM 101. It's Tour Management 101. And where they initially thought that they were going to do 10 webinars to sort of synergize the concert community and the people who had been working and couldn't figure out what to do during COVID, they have now 360 something, 70 something days later, accumulated a total of over 70 episodes of their web series and various interview segments and courses and curriculum. And it's amazing. TM 101, make sure you go check that out. And like I said, most notably, she is the producer of this show, and she's so talented. She could be a panelist and produce at the same dang on time. All right, Adrian Biondo. Dr. Carter, since we've heard a little from you, swoop, very cute. Dr. Holly Carter was one of the first women that I thought of when I wanted to do this panel, mainly because her name keeps coming across my desk like every 5 minutes in my law practice. She is a part of such amazing things right now and has been for years. She helms Relevé Entertainment, a multi-platform production and talent partnership boutique which I absolutely love that. A multi-platform production and talent partnership boutique that curates content across media and has managed award-winning multi-platinum artists, including Usher, Kirk Franklin, Mary Mary, Kierra Sheard, McLean-Williams, and more. Inspired by a passion for artist development, this 25-year veteran, tell it to the people, tell the lies to the people, Dr. Carter, 25-year industry veteran, began her career in television casting for The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Rock, and Martin, ultimately expanding into content creation and brand development. Today, Relevé Entertainment has a partnership with, among others, OWN, and I can't wait to hear what it's like to work with Miss Winfrey. I was talking with your assistant. She said she's working with Miss Winfrey right now, but she sends her regards. You have to whisper when you say Miss Winfrey. But she is, I lost my space and everything because I was so excited. Her company has created Oxygen's breakout franchises like Preachers of LA, Detroit, and Atlanta, and most recently, the Lifetime original, The Clark Sisters, the First Ladies of Gospel, which again, these women never want to brag in their bios. However, what I know for sure, since having the opportunity and gift of representing the Clark Sisters, that film, ma'am, was Lifetime's most watched biopic in their history. And they've done Whitney Houston and others. So I applaud you for your work on the biopic. It was amazing. She's also worked with producing partners Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, and Mary J. Blige, which premiered as the highest rated original movie of 2020. Both broadcast and cable networks with an audience of 3+ million and an additional 11+ million, that's more than that now, streams in its debut week. Come through success in production. Dr. Holly Carter, ladies and gentlemen. I now want to go to Stacy Morris. Let me say that to have a woman this accomplished in an area of entertainment that probably none of you would expect a woman was at the top of, not only makes me extremely proud of her as a friend, as a client, but she inspires me in so many ways as a woman. Stacy Morris is professionally known, if you don't know, as Stacy Cuts, and she is the stylist to the stars. Originally, Stacy's from New York. She lives in LA now with her 3 beautiful children. She began her career as personal barber for celebrities like Kid and Play, Teddy Riley, Guy, New Edition, Dougie Fresh, Kwame, Mike Tyson, Martin Lawrence, Will Smith. Yes, I'm not done. She also works with a lot of athletes as well as entertainers and had the ability to become the barber for A-listers like Heavy D, Puffy, Sean Combs, yeah. Jamie Foxx, Marlon Wayans, The Rock, Kobe Bryant. I'm done with that like I was done with Michael Jackson. We're done. Like, go home. And Dwayne Wade. In 2020, she was Oscar shortlisted for her work on the film Dolomite. And as a 3-time Emmy Award, 4-time Guild Award, and 1-time Critics' Choice Award nominated stylist. Currently, she's a backup barber for Will Smith and the personal barber stylist for Eddie Murphy, Anthony Anderson, Brian White, Columbus Short, Alfonso Ribeiro, Anthony Mackie, so many more. And she has done barbering and styling on more films, more productions than you all can imagine. And most recently, coming to America, where she was lead barber over hair for Eddie and Wesley and everybody. I want to make sure that you all know that not only does she do the barbering, she creates the wigs, the beards, the mustaches. Like her work on her IG, she shows doing the wig for Wesley Snipes in Coming to America. It is genius. It is brilliant. Stacey, sister girlfriend, I'm so happy you are here. I said I was doing the short versions, didn't I? I told y'all I can't. They deserve it. And here's the thing. If I said, okay, everyone go around and introduce yourselves, let me just explain. Hi, I'm Stacy Morris. I do hair. Hi, I'm Dr. Holly Carter. I've done a film or two. It would be so minimal that somebody needs to celebrate those who won't always celebrate themselves. I'm now going to go to Gina Miller. Gina Miller, you look amazing tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Gina Waters Miller, a native of Memphis, has been also passionate about music and writing for as long as she can remember. She is a long time musician, educator, entrepreneur, and music industry veteran. And her love for music has translated into the career that she has now and the purpose and work that she does. In 2016, after 15 years with the company, Gina was named Senior Vice President and General Manager of Entertainment One Nashville, now a part of the global play and entertainment company Hasbro. In her role, she oversees day-to-day operations for E1 Nashville, including light records and indie blue music. Her work has been recognized by Billboard magazine in their Women in Music Executive Class 2018 and 2020. And more recently, she was chosen to the Nashville Business Journal Women of Influence 2021 class as an inspiration and a mentor. Gina has been a part of careers of icons in the music industry, such as Erica Campbell, Jonathan McReynolds, Shirley Caesar, Layla Hathaway, Hezekiah Walker, Donald Lawrence, some of my absolute favorites. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable, powerful, sitting at the helm, Gina Miller. And we have one guest who's not yet arrived. We're going to introduce her when she comes, because my grand finale right now is extra special. And here's one thing you guys probably didn't know I am capable of doing, and I'm gonna work real hard not to, and that's cry. Kerry Fiero is not only a dynamo and a powerhouse who has had a tremendous impact on the music industry, particularly in a smaller market like I started in San Francisco Bay Area. She is no shrinking violet, however, and nor is she limited to a geographical area, because her work has impacted and influenced the entire industry. She started her career in artist management, running her own company, Strive Management, where she represented and signed and unsigned artists. Among them, in their early career, she worked with Lettucey, she worked with Guapole, and many more. She toured with the acts and tirelessly promoted their careers. Her Strive for More Music showcase, which featured up-and-coming singers, was featured in Billboard magazine in 2006. She launched the San Francisco chapter of the National Association of Recording Industry Professionals, NARIP. In 2009, she pivoted her focus to event planning, mostly working on events that featured music. She booked talent and managed music festival stages like Oakland Art and Soul Festival, worked VIP hospitality at Outside Lands Festival, booked and coordinated the San Francisco Jazz Festival and summer concert series, and was event manager for VIP at Dreamfest, held in the San Francisco Giants Stadium. She also brought professional music artists into Oakland schools to give master classes. In 2013, her signature event was born, and one of the things I am most proud of her creating, which is her Girl Power Women Working in the Music Industry Conference. Girl Power is nationally recognized as a premier entertainment industry educational and networking event. She designed the annual conference to spotlight female power players, excuse me, while also empowering, inspiring, supporting, and facilitating opportunities to women who work or desire to work in the music industry. For over half a decade, this conference has been so impactful and has brought women from all over the world to the Bay Area, such as Tina Davis, A&R at Empire, formerly Def Jam, Jody Goodman, president of Live Nation, San Francisco, Gail Mitchell, the senior editor of Billboard, Madam Gandhi, an artist activist, Victoria Theodore, an amazing musician for Stevie Wonder and Beyonce, and more. Kerry is also one of my original Soul Tribe members. She is one of my sister girlfriends from the very beginning. She has been an inspiration to me in all she does, and is definitely one of the core reasons that Soul Reciprocity for me today is even a thing, not only as a company and a lifestyle brand, but also as a principle and a way that I try to live. Kerry, Fiero, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Okay, let's go. That's enough of me. Enough of me. More of them. Until Janine is able to join us, we're just going to keep moving forward, ladies. And I want to just start talking to you about really the beginning. Tonight is about you. I am going to force you to answer questions about how you got here and where you come from and how you did it, and if whether or not being a girl has any positive, negative influences or what. But I want tonight to salute you. It is Women's History Month, and each of you are sheroes and history makers in your own right. So I want you to start to talk about the obvious. How did you start in the business? You are all in such diverse areas of entertainment and have done such different things. Many of you say you were influenced by being a love for music and arts or otherwise, but how do you get started in the career that you have, Dr. Holly Carter? Where does it all begin?
Well, it certainly for me began with, I would say, a vision. But it really began for me when I asked my pastor. I said, Pastor, do you think it's okay for me to cross over? Speaking of the entertainment industry and being a Christian. And he said, of course it's okay to cross over as long as you take the crossover. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, I could do that, because growing up in church and knowing, being taught Hollywood is bad, it's dark, it's, if you're a Christian, you can't go to Hollywood. I vacillated back and forth between that idea until my pastor at the time kind of gave me that word. But I always knew I would do something in the business. I'm from a musically inclined family, and that was just kind of, it was my proclivity. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, raise up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart. And that really talks about your natural proclivities. What are those things? What are their natural bends? And my natural bend was music and theatrics and, content and things that you can see, touch, hear, and feel and get a reaction from. And so I was inspired by that. I was inspired by sounds and and ideas. And so that's kind of how it started for me. I had the bug as a kid.
And what was your first entry to the business?
I worked for Hard Copy, this tabloid news show. My godfather was the head makeup artist on the show, and he brought me in, and I would literally drive an hour and 10 minutes to clip newspaper articles. And what they did on Hard Copy was they recreated these murders, these really salacious stories and things that would happen to people. And so my job was to get in the newspaper and clip these stories, find the most horrendous story, bring it to them. If they liked it, then my job was to cast it. So find someone that looks like the lady that got chopped up in 1,000 pieces.
Just like your pastor.
And literally that's how it started. I went from that to casting, from casting to agenting, from agenting to management, and then management to production.
I love it. I love it. And you mentioned you're starting out like that. I didn't even know that. Gina, in your bio, the longer one that I didn't read, but you said something really interesting. There's something in your bio that talks about having started at Entertainment One in some non-traditional internship. What is that?
It was definitely non-traditional because I was not a college student. I was real grown. I was married at the time and I had 2 sons. So that was the non-traditional part, because you can imagine being a 30-something walking into a place. I'm 17 years in now there. So walking in and thinking, okay, they're going to just give you a job. I had to be creative. Heather had to be creative. So really, it actually started before I walked in. I actually met, it's interesting because I just shared part of this talking to someone earlier yesterday. And what I didn't realize was that the part of my life where I knew I needed a job change, what I would probably classify to date is probably some of the darker parts of my life. I literally walked into like records every single day. So I looked at that as like, God has a sense of humor for sure, that I would take those moments. I mean, it gave me life. It gave me opportunity. It gave me, I didn't know at the time that my marital status was going to change, but I knew something was going to happen that was going to require me to meet something different. And I was at my son's football game, and we had been there, 6, 7, 8 weeks or whatever the season was. And there was a man on the sidelines who was definitely set apart from everyone else. I mean, the suburban neighborhood was full of Infinities, Camrys, Escalades, but he was in a Porsche. So I was like, okay, it's something to this guy. And I'm not a car person, so it really caught my eye. And he was there every week. So I was like, okay, this is a really big guy, real, the kind of people that have presence. He had presence. So I just like, I should approach this guy and just see what this is about. Who are you? I should know you. And I did. I walked up to him and I was like, okay, we've been down this sidelines for the last few weeks and I don't know who you are. Clearly you're somebody. Like, who are you? What do you do? And he started talking about all this music and asking me, was I familiar with these artists, these titles, these songs? And I was like, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like, this is my music. What are you doing with this? I mean, 6'3", white guy, 50s, I was like, yeah, this is all my music that you're talking about. So long story short, he told me that, I approached him and asked him, did he have a job for me? Because it sounded like he was working somewhere that I should be there with him every day. And we kind of chuckled about that. And he was like, no, I'm the CEO. He was like, I don't do hiring, but I can introduce you to the president. I can't make you a promise, but I can make an introduction. And I was like, I don't need a promise. All I need is an introduction. And so I walked in for that introduction and asked him, because he said they didn't have any jobs available. They weren't hiring at the time. If I could just come in every day and really just put myself in the way, learn what I need to learn, observe, help out wherever I could help out and do whatever I needed to do. And that became a thing. And I did it a whole year for free until they finally said, well, we'll offer you a part-time job. And I took the part. I mean, I literally probably was like, part-time after this year. So I was like, okay, I'll take it. Graciously, gratefully, I took it. And literally, that's where the beginning started, that part-time job that I accepted as a coordinator.
That's incredible. Adriane, your career has been vast. You have in a lot of areas of it, but like, where does it start?
So this was going to go down this road, and I feel like I was predestined to walk this path. My parents met at David Crosby's house in Greenwich Village in the 60s. Okay. Cass Elliot of the Mamas and the Papas was Mama's best friend. My parents were not artistically inclined, but they're people. There were guitars in my living room. The great Bob Gibson of folk music is my godfather. And I sat at the feet of folk legends. Peter, Paul, and Mary were friends with my family. So this was coming. I had a thing for it. I was a very active child. Mom took me and said, well, we got to do something with this one. And she gave me to a woman called Cornelia Dozier, Corky Dozier, who hails from Chicago, was one of the original cast members of Bubbling Brown Sugar. She had a theater company called the Coconut Grove Children's Theater in Coconut Grove, which is a suburb of Miami. And Mama took me down there and said, we're going to take you to meet this lady. And I can tell you that when I came around the corner, it was not what I was expecting, the theater teacher that I, already had an eye roll going. And what I got when I came around the corner was the most unbelievably captivating African-American woman that I had ever seen, dressed in beautiful purple with a turban and her hair and her lashes. And she looked at me and she said, hello. Done. I would have done anything she said then, but to hear her sing and to hear her dance, and she took me under her wing and schooled me. And I was in a repertory when I was 9. This woman, one of her daughters is Bunny from the Trim, the Cars That Go Boom. So that's the house I grew up in, thankfully. That's who gave me every single workable skill that I have. When I walked into the Gusman Hall to do this thing that we called Performathon, which was doing theater for children by children, and the teaching company produced, so A company was on stage, B company was running the lights and calling the show. I flipped my first house when I was 12. So I was finished. When I walked into the theater for the first time and I looked up at the lights and the wings and out in the house, done, finished.
I love it.
Now, it wasn't a straight line because I was going to do whatever I needed to do. And the one thing that I will tell you guys that isn't really out there is that I was a licensed cosmetologist by the time I was 17. I was a hairdresser, Stacey. Okay. Mom said, there will be no starving artists. Ivy League educated family. There was, none of this gonna go be creative and loaf on that. So she said, you need a skill. So I already knew makeup and hair and could do it and had been doing it for stage and theater. And so I checked out of high school at 16, got a GED and registered for cosmetology school and got a license by the time I was 17.
That's right.
And I worked it.
Ask.
I worked it. I was a retired hairdresser at 18 and I went into sales and marketing. I was hired away by my next mentor, Fran Battaglia. I was the national sales manager for a line of hair care products when I was 22 years old. And then I got in the music business.
Wow.
I stayed with Corky to this day. She's my mom. She's the one person that I always hope will be proud of me. She came and sat with me on Janet Jackson in Miami one time, and I was never more proud in my life for her to sit there and see me do work and do the things that she had taught me decades and decades ago.
Wow. That's awesome. So Stacey, I mean, I don't even know like the right way to even ask the question because it just fascinates me. I mean, if ever someone's theme song should be It's a Man's World, it would be, it should be your theme song. So how does a girl from New York end up in LA and the worldwide being a barber to some of the most famous humans on the planet? Where does that start?
First, I want to say thanks for that wonderful introduction for myself and everyone else. I mean, wow, yeah, I'm still in your thing too. Barber. Yeah, I'm taking that. So my journey started off and has continued to be a little bit serendipitous. I started doing hair when I was 12 years old. I grew up in a household of boys. I had brothers. My mother used to trim their hair and she would mess it up. and at that time, it was like kind of the birth of hip hop and the birth of these subcultures that we're seeing now. And so hairstyles were changing. They were doing all these intricate things that my mom could not do. And it just intrigued me to want to try to do it. It was so interesting and intricate. And so, I got, who knows, a pair of clippers probably from the drugstore or something, and started messing with my brother's hair. And it kind of spread like a brush fire. Friends would see their hair and be like, oh, your sister cut your hair, can she cut my hair? And so it was that kind of thing. But growing up, I was in an environment that kind of made me who I am now as far as entertainment, that whole world. My mother was a model in New York, so I spent a lot of time in the fashion world, a lot of time in the hair salons and nail salons. My mother was that on-the-go mother, pick up Stacey, pick up the kids, and let's go. Oh, I don't have a sitter. Okay, you guys are in the shop with me. Or, hey, be quiet, sit over there while I do this fashion show, So we were around that all the time. And my biological father was a musician and a songwriter. He wrote a bunch of the songs back in the disco days, Push, Push in the Bush. He wrote for Candy Staten. Rick James is my godfather. So I grew up.
Years. Why don't this is why I have to do these so I can get to know my friends better. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like Adri, Rod Stewart in the living room, stuff like that. So, it was the entertainment world. My father, who raised me, was on the executive side of things. He was, the president of RCA, and later on Epic. And that's how we ended up moving to California, because my uncle was Dick Griffey, and he was starting Solar Records. And so he invited my father, who was like his brother, to help him, spearhead this company and help him get it off the ground and get it started. And so we moved to California, which was daunting, to say the least. But I ended up staying, and there, my parents left, so something was good here. But yeah, so we moved to LA. My father ended up at Warner Brothers, good friends with Benny Medina, and kind of, he left Warner Brothers and my father was there, and that's how everything started. And once I moved here, everyone knows, like, especially back then, New York was so progressive and so far ahead of California, whatever it was, style, music, all of those types of things. So when people would come out here from New York, it was like, oh, you got to go see Stacey. Like, no one was doing what I was doing. I brought, my savvy from New York to LA, and it was like people just gravitated towards me. Attitude, style, hair, whatever it was. And eventually, I started having celebrity clients that would literally come sit in my living room and get their hair done back then.
Okay. Hold on, wait, the whole thing we just jumped to. Eventually, I had celebrity clients in my life. Who was the first celebrity client?
I get asked that question a lot, and I really don't remember the first. I remember the group of people, you name some of them, Kid and Play, they were part of that time period. EPMD, De La Soul, and then it went on like the Tyson era and, Teddy Riley and Guy. It was that whole era, but I do remember my first time being on a film set, being snuck to a film set, because I didn't try to do this. I never went to school. I wasn't licensed. I wasn't trying to be on set. I wasn't trying to do hair, but it was something that I could do. I am an artist. I paint, I can draw, I can write, I can do all of those things. I say my profession chose me, and I saw an opportunity and embraced it. Originally, believe it or not, I wanted to be a veterinarian. That's what all my schooling was geared towards. You know, even my high school, when we moved out here, I was at a biological zoo magnet. My classes were at the zoo. You know, I got accepted to Tuskegee. I was supposed to go away and, you know, end up being a veterinarian, owned in my own practice and what have you. My parents were like, "You're gonna do what?" Like, they were just done with me, you know. But it metastasized to a point that my brother went to school one day with this haircut. We started, you know, doing designs and putting names in heads. And I ended up being in Ebony magazine. That's how a lot of people really got to know about me. But what they wrote in there is she's the daughter of executive Ray Harris. And he starts getting all these phone calls at his office. And that's how my parents knew, what are you doing? Like, doing hair? No, you're going to college. And I made a deal with my parents because they were pushing me, that it was not an option to do hair. And the deal was, if you go to a 2-year college, at the end of that 2 years, it is up to you what you want to do with your life. And so I went to school for 2 years, the whole time thinking, I just got to get through this so I can get to what I want to do, you know. And so I did it, and they set me free. They said, "Hey, you're on your own. You got it." They support me, of course, in everything that I did, but they were like, "We're off you. We're not going to push you anymore." And it metastasized. Kid and Play would sneak me onto set because, you know, I wasn't in the union, so I wasn't allowed to be on set. You know, I'd be cutting their hair in a room and they used to stay at the Oakwood apartments when they came to LA. And, you know, I'd be at the Oakwood cutting them and cutting Kwame and cutting all these guys. And, you know, that just turned into a very, very, very nice career for myself, you know, and it just rolled on and on and on. Here I am.
Here you are. All kinds of expletives I could say, but I won't. Kerry Fiero.
Hello.
I miss you.
I miss you too. And thank you for having me with these amazing women. I'm so excited to be here.
Birds of a feather, honey. Birds of a feather. Look here.
Yes.
I want the people to know, because I know a little. I want the people to understand, how do you grow up in the Bay Area and end up in the epicenter of all that is music there?
Well, it's so funny because I, like Stacey, like I, had to go to college, and I went to college for physical therapy, and I practiced when I got out of college at a hospital. I was treating my patients, and I couldn't diagnose, I could only treat them. That was the next layer of education to get a master's. So I decided, like, let me take some time off to make sure this is what I want to do. I practiced physical therapy for about 3 years, and I went and to live in DC, just to live somewhere totally different and have just sort of a break. And I go to DC, and friends of mine from the Bay Area get signed to Atlantic Records. They were called the Braids, and they had a hip hop version of Bohemian Rhapsody. And so they got signed to Atlantic Records, and they said, "Oh, come up to New York. Like, we're going to get wined and dined. We're going to shoot a video, and you could just hang out with us and pretend you're our manager." I didn't even know what a manager was. So I went up to New York, took the Greyhound, like, up to New York. The Greyhound, broke, took the Greyhound up to New York, and basically the Atlantic Records had signed 2 artists. They had signed the Braids and Lil' Kim. And so they were like, photo shoot with the Braids, photo shoot with Lil' Kim, music video with Braids, music video with Lil' Kim. Like, so we went, shopping for the music video stuff, and we shot the video, and I was with them for the, like, wine and dine signing party. And it was just like hanging out with my girls, having fun, right? So at the end, Craig Kalman from Atlantic was like, "I really don't think you're the manager." And I'm like, "Uh-huh." And he's like, "But they do need some help. They're gonna need help. And so I really think you should, I feel like you should stick with them." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, okay." So I end up moving back to the Bay Area to help these 2 women out that were good friends of mine. And all of a sudden, one of their songs hits in France. So they're like, you want to go to France? I was like, word, let's go to France. Okay. But still, like, I'm going to get back to physical therapy, right? So we go to France and we land there. We get to this beautiful hotel. We drop our stuff. We have to immediately do this press. We immediately go to choreography with all these French dancers that didn't speak English, who know the song already. We immediately go get them styled. And then we go to the show that was kind of like a Soul Train or an American Bandstand, but over there. And we're in the wings, and I see like the smoke coming up from the stage, and I hear everyone like, the braids, the braids, the braids, the braids. And I was like, this is a career? People get paid to do this? This is like, what? I'm never going back to bodily fluids ever again in my life. Like, I quit therapy. I am all about this music thing. What do I need to know? So I came back to the Bay Area, and we used to have what's called bookstores. You remember those? And and I would literally just start reading like everything in the music business, and got a mentor, and was like, what do you do? Like, what is a manager? What does a management do? And so I took a job at the Rosebud Agency, and their big client was John Lee Hooker. And so I sort of learned, like sort of by apprenticing as a junior manager, what a manager does while helping the Braids out with their career. I never looked back.
I love it. The thing about doing these kinds of conversations is I literally could do this like all day. Like, this needs to be a slumber party. We all just need to be on Zoom in our jammies with like tea and just talk and tell war stories like all day. I can't even. I do want to pivot a little bit, because one of the things that, you know, I feel like a lot of times in when we do these industry things, we talk so much about our jobs, which are amazing. I mean, what you guys do is incredible, and how you have gotten to the top of your professions is just unworldly. But at the same time, what I know about every single one of you is that you're real women. And it's really why I called this Who Runs the World Girls, because I think one of the things that we are uniquely situated as women in holding such powerful careers as you do, having the demands in mostly male-dominated professions, quite frankly, and environments a lot of the times, is that there's also this thing called balance and work life and family and maybe children or significant others or whatever. So just talk to me a little bit about your real life. How do you find balance? Do you have a real life? What do you do, and how do you figure out, especially when you're touring or you've got these high profile or powerful people you've got to deal with all day, and then maybe you're just dealing with a sibling or a child who could care less about any of it? I mean, Holly, what is like, what's happening in the room over there?
Well, Journey just left for cheer practice, and she'll be storming through the door in a few moments because she has a game on Friday that we will all be bundled up watching her cheer. Yeah, go. You know, we do it all. I do it all. I stretch it out. I believe in being a mom and a wife first. Yeah, I probably overdo it. And I'm sure my kids would love me to take a beat, but I've always felt if I reach a level of success and my kids are crazy, I've done something wrong. So I'm very focused there. Plus, my parents were those kinds of parents. They were all in. I was a mama's baby and a daddy's girl. So that's kind of the life that I've given my kids. What else is going on? My husband is just walking in. So you're going to hear noise in the background while we're on a panel. Honey, I'm on the Zoom. Anyway, that's what's going on over here. I'll pass it on to y'all.
Right. Well, so no, but you got to tell me a day in the life, because I know that you've been in production as well. So, I mean, what does that look like? Because I think some people envision that those of us, especially in the entertainment industry who have careers, that's all we do, that it's just like, oh, we're on set, or we're in Paris, or we're sitting with presidents and doing hair of famous people and backstage with Mariah. But like, I give me some tea, and it's not Real Housewives tea. It's just like real grown woman who understands how to balance and truly be a boss tea.
You know, I will say this, as a woman that, you know, I'm really involved in my church. I am literally on the praise team in my church. I oversee the fine arts department in my church. And I'm the mom that's at, you know, all the games. My husband looks like Idris Elba, so I'm quite in love.
Snap.
He's not Idris, but he looks like Idris. So I'm very heavily married, 20 years. The other thing is, when I wake up in the morning, I get up at 6 o'clock. That's my prayer and devotion time. I spend that time in the presence. I leave that and I go to the gym to work off some of this juice that I have maintained through the pandemic. The juice has lifted and it's moved into different parts of my body that I'm trying to work out. So
I'm grateful for Zoom being like here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So after I come back from the gym, I'm on the Zoom. After I get ready and do what I need to do, I'm either on the Zoom at work, I'm on set, I'm balancing different productions via Zoom, via the cell phone. And that's, you know, and that's kind of my day. And then when it comes to, you know, something that I'm doing for my daughter, because my daughter is 17, she got accepted to college. So we're working through scheduling college visits. We are, you know, working through senior pictures. And so I'm stretched. And at the same time, I have a tribe of women that cover me and my children. And I've always had that. When my daughter was born, she, you know, people get godmothers. Well, she had 12. She had a godmother that was a social godmother assigned to her for social graces, a spiritual godmother assigned for her for the spiritual things in life. And every, you know, like an activities godmother, a financial godmother, it was someone in every area of her life to sow into her. And we did that from day one. So I try to balance everything. And that's just kind of how I live my life.
So good. And I feel like it's what epitomizes not only all of you, but so many other women I know who have these incredible careers, but also are dedicated to actually being present in this life thing. I mean, Gina, what are you doing? Come on, you run a record label, ma'am. I mean,
well, and here's the thing. I have a very different perspective from Holly's, and I respect that. But I love that Holly said what she said, and I love that you framed all of this around grown woman, because I think as grown women, we have a right to decide what we create and what that balance looks like and how we define it. And I have sons. Who've grown up in this with me. And I've made some decisions along the way that, you know, and you can make decisions. You have to make decisions that are right for you. And before I get to me, I have a lot of girlfriends who have chosen to have children or not, or they can't have children, or they just don't want them. You know, they just don't want to do that. Right. And that's okay. I think that every woman has a right to decide what she wants for her life and how her life then blends into her life. So for me personally, you know, there was a point in time with my sons, you know, I literally had to sit them down and say, okay, I won't be at every game. I'm making a choice to not be. I could have been, but I made the choice not to be. I made the choice that I would not be present for a lot of things. I've missed a lot of things with them growing up. But I made those choices consciously knowing that there would be some, you know, likely there could be some repercussions. But once they got a little older, I mean, I got both of my sons' hardship licenses at 14 to drive. So they could be mobile and you know, my oldest son, bless his heart, he tore his LCL twice. And he was going to therapy sessions by himself. He was going to, you know, getting ortho work done, taking his brother. Like he was very responsible at 14 and 15 while I was likely in LA or in New York or doing what I was doing. But my bigger point is those were decisions that I had to evaluate for where I was going and what I felt was necessary to get there. Yeah. And no one can tell you what's right or wrong for the decisions that you feel like you have to make for yourself, for your family, and for your future. So while sometimes there are moments where I look back and go, man, I miss that. But at the time, I mean, they remind me today, some days when I try to pull the 20-year-old guilt out, and they're like, girl, if you don't quit it, like, you keep going, they're my biggest cheerleaders. So I just think that that's one message that I love, that we can give both perspectives on that. Family is certainly important. My family is still important to me. My family, my mom, my sisters, my network, all are very important to me. But I think when it comes to the way I've chosen to parent my sons, I probably have taken a different approach, and it was the one I chose. And you have to own that. And so I do. I own that. That's what I've decided to do. And it's worked,
And you know what? Balance has a lot of different definitions, right? I mean, balance is never the same for any of us. I mean, to me, I'm trying to figure out how you look like that in pandemic, like, ma'am, and work all day. So the fact there might be grown sons or friends or other people, I need to know how you wake up like that during this.
Look, I can tell you, I've been doing this since I was about 6th, 7th grade.
Yep,
So this,
nailed that. Come through.
this is part of the wardrobe.
Adrian and Kerry, you guys are both in the touring world and the live event world and the event planning world and the production world. Male dominated, sorry, AF, and demanding, and a lot of times gone, not, and now COVID pandemic, like, y'all just talk to me. Where's the balance? How are you finding it? What in the world? I mean, what I know about both of you, let's say this, and this is why I'm actually pairing you together. And it's not because you're blondes. It's because, like me, we are all lionesses. Care Bear, Adrian Zaglio. And I know the overextended, over that you all do, that we all do. What are you doing and how are you doing it?
Well, for me, I definitely feel like work-life balance is like when you're starting out in these careers, this music industry world, it's like that doesn't even exist. Especially as a woman, I felt like I had to say yes to every single thing. I had to always be the last one there. I had to do everything all the time, especially as a manager, which is really a 24-hour job. So I'd say initially, like, I didn't even know what that word meant, that concept, work-life balance. But when I had a family, that's when, I looked at it differently, and I did pivot my career out of management so that I could have more of a work-life balance. So for me, I mean, I'm lucky, very blessed to have a husband who was in the music industry. And so he really understands it, because there are times where, like when I did Dreamfest, I was, we're talking about 41,000 people at this concert, and I'm managing a huge part of it. So I'm literally gone for 5 days. Like, I would come home, sleep for 3 hours, and drive back. And so my family literally does not see me, But then the beautiful thing is Dreamfest ends, and now I'm just free. I can go be the PTA president. I can, rah-rah at the sports game. And so it's definitely been, now that I'm older, like a choice that I made to have a balance in my life.
Mm-hmm. Adrian?
Single, never married, no children. I gave 100%. I've been in service to the arts my whole entire life. It's the one thing that has fortified me consistently my whole entire life. I didn't want to do anything else. I don't want to do another thing. I don't. As far as family, for a lot of reasons, that was not where the path that I was walking. And I knew that. To Gina's point, I knew that I was doing things a little bit differently, perhaps, than some of my friends. I got 7 or 8 godchildren. I'm an Auntie A to so many, and I love them. And I'm so happy to see them and have them and love them up and kiss them and hug them and give them right on back. I'm gone a lot. So keeping relationships, and also I'm a keep it moving kind of girl. If I'm not on the road, if I got $8, I'm $8 down the road. I want to be moving. I want to be seeing the world. I want to go wherever there is to go and see everything. I've worked in 52 countries. It's one of my most, you can look at the names on my resume and go, wow, that's pretty impressive. I go, look at this passport. You know what I mean? So I had some other things I wanted to accomplish. There were a lot of reasons for them, but I had to be true to myself. I'm a steward of this magic. That's my thing. Spiritually, I'm at the altar of the arts. For me, that's the thing that connects us all and keeps us together. So that's where I put it. That's where I put my focus. Admittedly, I have not always been able to get that work-life balance. I have burnt myself out hardcore. I took myself off to Southeast Asia for some volunteer work. The last time I found myself in a place where I gave everything I had and left it all on the table. I went to Thailand and Cambodia, and I worked in Thailand with elephants who are endangered and in trouble there. And they're a big part of the Thailand, their country, their queen, they're endangered and they're protected. So there are real programs there. And then I went to Cambodia to work with children whose families pick over the trash piles to find their food and sustenance. And that is where I find the balance. When I get off the tail of the comet, as Steven Tyler calls it, he calls it riding the tail of the comet. I rode that comet too, without a saddle. When you get done riding the tail of the comet, you have to step out of the entertainment business and all this illusion and this grand amount of money and this fantastic life and this bubble that's created inside the entertainment business when you're at a high level, and get to reality. And what I learned is that I could put braids in my hair and not wash it, but dump cold water over my head from the spigot and shovel massive amounts of elephant poop and sleep on a cot and be straight up thrilled. Thrilled. Never happier. So what that did for me, Heather, was it gave me a perspective that what we do is fantastic and it's important. But, as we know, and as we've seen this year, life is serious. It's serious. And we get caught up in the glitz and the glam and the stuff and the fancy and the hotels and the flights and the places that we go and the things that are shiny and beautiful.
Yeah.
And we have to also be able to sit down outside on the grass alone with our thoughts and ourselves and get right with the world.
Yes.
So my balance is a little bit different than I'm not balancing because I'm trying to find time to spend with my family, or for me it's about, listen sis, don't go full tilt boogie or you might run yourself into the ground, cause your mental health to fail, cause your physical health to fail, and really not have a single relationship left in your life. Yeah.
Stacey, planes, trains, automobiles, movies, sets, The Voice, Blackish, all these people, Anthony, Eddie, big personalities, male energy, all day, every day. What and where is your balance?
Stacey, I could not stop looking at Wesley Snipes.
Thank you.
I didn't realize that
Stacey.
I didn't realize that I was going to meet you 2 days later. I didn't realize that this was that. Honestly, we just watched it. What a gorgeous. And listen, as a hairdresser who could never do a French braid or a cornrow, I was like, what is that? So gorgeous. Everybody looked beautiful. And I'm so glad y'all just didn't give Wesley some cute high and tight fade with a cute partner. I'm glad you did something
Wasn't going to happen.
that made him look so regal and special. I loved it.
I had to follow up Blade and Nino Brown. How could I just make him regular?
And I want to tell you that when I posted your stuff, your promo for that bit on my socials, so many of my friends hit me back and said, tell her everybody was fantastic. I mean, people, I don't think that we expected, I think we expected maybe a little giggle and to be entertained by the people that we love to be entertained by. I don't think we all expected it to be such a visually stunning phenomena. So I'm going to shut up and just say kudos to you guys. How fantastic. How
Thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you. There went the balance, right?
Right.
My balance is making sure that I separate things, you know, like my career is my career, and who Stacey is in her career is that, and who I am to myself and to my friends and to my family is that, and just knowing how to separate the two. If you know anyone that knows me, I'm in this world full-fledged, but there's a lot of stuff I don't know. You can name drop and tell me about TV shows and stuff like that, and I'm clueless. Sometimes I feel dumb when it comes to that. It's like, how could you be in this world? Because I separate. When I leave the set, I leave it there. You know, when I'm not at work, I leave it there. When I come home, that's my balance. When I'm with my friends and my family, that's my balance. Now, juggling, and my career is a lifestyle as well. So of course it crosses over. You know, my kids are independent. They have to be, because, you know, especially now, we're up and on set 6 a.m. My kids are home 24 hours doing school. I'm glad I made them independent, because now it's like we train our kids their whole lives to depend on us. Wake them up in the morning, feed them their breakfast, tell them it's time to come on, let's go to school, get in the car. Now they have to get up, and I'm dependent on them to get up and be in school and do what they have to and be responsible. You know, so it's like I've already, because it's a lifestyle, I've had to teach them those things before this pandemic, you know. So that's, you know, that's where the balance is. And, you know, it bleeds over. They spend time on set, they know all the celebrities, and, you know, and like a lot of people here have said, we make choices, and I've made the choice, you know, to, my 8-year-old is calling me now. You see? I've made the choice to sacrifice, you know, some things so that we can have certain things. You know, I just had this discussion last night. You know, my daughter wanted me to dye her hair. I was tired. I've been going all week. I got a call from Eddie. I had to run up to his house. That was the time I would have been dyeing her hair. She told me I don't keep my word. I tell her to keep her word, and I don't keep my word. I say I kept my word, but things change, plans change, and we have to adjust with it. You know what I'm saying? So I said, I'm trying to provide so we can have sustenance and, you know, have all these luxuries that you guys like, you know. So it's like just finding that balance sometimes is difficult. And I'm a proactive parent. So like Kerry, when I'm off, I'm off. I take a vacation, no phone, no, and I have to leave. I can't be in town. I have to go. You know, our vacations, I'm like, Adrian, it's like, look at my passport. You know, we're off to Indonesia, and like, I'm gone. I'm out. I check out and I take that time for me and for my family. But it does get hard. But my mother was a good example of it. She was a supermodel, but when she came home, she had sponge rollers in her hair and a bathrobe. You know what I'm saying? And then I go to these photo shoots with her, and she was like, you know, this runway model. So I know how to do that. Just turn it off and put it down and do what you got to do for yourself. So that's how I find my balance, just not jumping up into the picture. My mother always told me, you can look at the picture, you can admire it, you can contribute to it, you can paint it, but don't become a part of that picture. So
I love that so much. One of my favorite sayings when I explain to people what it's like working in the entertainment business, as I always tell them, it's what I do, it's not who I am. And that just sort of helps me stay. It's not who I am. every day is every day. And I think so many people even look at women like yourselves who are, again, we're behind the scenes power brokers, but doing so much work for people in the front, and they see it as the same level of celebrity or, you know, kind of la la land world. And it really is something so much more. So I wouldn't be focused on faith if I didn't take a couple minutes, and I am looking at our time. We started a little late. We're going to go a little over, and I want to be able to get questions too, but it wouldn't be focused on faith if I didn't talk about this intersection of the worlds that we're in right now. And I find it particularly wonderful to have Holly and Gina together on this panel, because you two sit at two of the most powerful seats. I don't know, I'm hoping you know, in the industry, period, as women, as executives, as producers, as overseeing talent and high-level companies. You are absolutely influential in not only what's happening in the faith-based music and content creation world, but in the music and content creation world. And so I just wanted you ladies to talk a little bit about the decision, if it was a decision, to be in, and Holly, you touched on it a little bit in your conversation with your pastor when you started the business, but, you know, was it a decision to be in gospel music, in faith-based content creation world, and being true to that? Did it just happen? And do you feel it puts you in any sort of position, advantageous or disadvantageous? Either one.
Pointing to me. It's Holly pointing at me to start.
I told you I was some general, cool, but I said I like to make it flow. Let's flow.
Right. I'm Mike, Holly. We just gonna talk about it.
Like that wasn't on the list.
I think that no, it's good. It's totally fine. I think that for me to understand for myself how I got specifically to the gospel part before adding the other genres to there, I think we have to go back to, my mom was our church pianist. So I spent a lot of time at church, like all the time I was at church with her. And music was in our home. We had 2 pianos in the house growing up, an organ, some instruments, because my whole family's musical. So I think that progression somewhere along the way, maybe, 20 years ago, I just realized music was going to be who I was. Education is a big part of it. I can teach music, have a music degree. I mean, I'm a musical person. I love all genres. I studied classically. I play the piano. I play a couple of instruments. I mean, so setting the space for music being in my life, it was at some point, it was just like unavoidable. Like Stacey, it chose me too. There's no way around this. I could go run out to do something else, and it was gonna be like, hey girl, we're over here waiting. And so
come back.
Yeah, come back. So at some point I just was like, you're right, God, you're right. This is absolutely what you've created me to do. And so it started with, there was no irony, I don't think, that Light Records at the time, that intro that we talked about, my entree into that space was all the music we had been doing at church. Mm-hmm. So it was like a catalog that I didn't have to learn because it was all the songs and artists I already knew. So that was one part of it. And I think the other parts, starting and stopping with the gospel conversation is one thing, but then we add in the pivot, Holly, to R&B, then you get the questions of, there become some other kind of questions that are absolutely asked. And I just think I try to offer a different perspective on the subject matter, that everyone who's doing R&B is not unsaved, much like everyone who's doing Christian music ain't as saved as they should be. So I think the beautiful thing here is that we offer an opportunity to meet people where they are. And I would like to think that through the work that we're doing, that we enlighten people to find the path of purpose, to keep their passions, in front of everything that we're doing. And if they find God on either side of that, or we show them a different kind of version of God or something, then I've done my part personally. I've stewarded my part well, Adrian, more so than what the job description says. So that's what I believe. I think that for me, it hasn't been
Thunder gone.
People have asked. I mean, those have been questions that people have asked. Like, how do you deal with certain artists, whether they're gospel, who don't always portray what people think the gospel is? And I'm like, but this is the very essence of the gospel. Like, this is the very essence of what the gospel is supposed to do. We should be able to offer and extend grace and compassion and hope and, you know, all those things, and inspire people who are receiving this music. But at the same time, I've been in rooms and concerts on the road with urban artists who are praying before every show and singing, you know, their Christian inspired songs before every show. And they may be singing their R&B set and usually include a gospel song or something that pays homage to their own spiritual place where they are. But I don't think any of that is a prerequisite. And I think that that's one of the things that I love more about the R&B side of things, because we take for granted sometimes, or we take a position that they are less church than the people who are singing specifically for the church. And that's just not the case. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I was on the road one day a few years ago with Kelly Price, and Kelly in that radio interview said, please do not refer to me as a secular artist, because that's what I'm not. I sing rhythm and blues. And I think when you break down just the language and the definition of secular and what it means, it embodies so much of what I've now made my personal mission, is that everyone, like, how can you even write love songs and not have God? Like, I don't know how. You definitely got to have some kind of relationship with God to put some great pens, you know, to some love songs. So that's my position. I'm just grateful to be able to be in a spot where we can just support the purpose that the artists have who are part of what we're doing, and be a part to serve them and get that music to the world. And that's the best part of all of it.
Gina,
Yeah.
I love that you talk about meeting people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we can't.
So great.
We have to. I think that that's a big part. I mean, if I be really honest, the secret sauce here is the music is really like this. Like, there's a lot of focus on the music being the bigger part, but for our part, my personal part, I think that my job is really to manage expectation and to manage purpose well, and to steward the gifts and talents that are assigned to me. I look at it as an assignment. And so I take it very seriously, as if I'm answering to people higher than those that are over me.
Yes. Dr. Carter.
Well, I ditto everything Gina said. I agree. I feel we were called to this. And
Yeah, it's a calling for sure.
yeah.
Well, let me tell you, this Focus on Faith whole series, like I was saying at the beginning, is about the fact that no matter what genre you're in, at the end of the day, we're all in a business called entertainment. And, you know, and I think that you have all very well captured the essence of what I'm talking about with that, or what I mean by that, because no matter what area is your primary, or no matter what your faith draws you to do or not do, at the end of the day, the entertainment that we're doing, especially right now, so much of it is inspirational. So many people are looking for some good news. So many people are looking for just something that can take them away from all of the crazy, whether it's political mayhem or social injustice or COVID or whatever, and just kind of come together and enjoy some good old-fashioned film, music, television, something, podcast. Dr. Holly, talk about the fact that, I mean, these new programs that you're doing with Miss Winfrey on OWN. Don't ask me why I keep doing that, but I do. I feel like it's necessary. Like when you talk about the Queen. But you did the Christmas special. You've got an Easter special coming up. You had the Clark sisters biopic on Lifetime. I mean, you are really the preeminent example of this intersection of faith-based content creation, along with mainstream entertainment, along with the biggest, brightest, and boldest, and most successful networks and people in entertainment. How does that feel? Natural, right?
I feel blessed with that. I think, you know, I was sharing with someone today, timing is everything. And people say timing is everything. I say God's timing is purpose. And so I feel like we're in a time when the opportunity for us is clear and it's evident as women of color, as women of faith, as creative women. It's just our time, whether our creativity is in our hands with hair. And clearly those are very important people because, we've got to look cute. And if we don't have people like Stacey, we're going to be messed up in here. But I feel like it's our time to do what we have been called to do. So working with Miss Winfrey and the programming that we've been doing has been awesome. They have been incredibly supportive of the content that I do. I think the world has yearned. We're in a place where we're yearning for content that is inspiring, that is redemptive, that is life-changing, that gives you an opportunity to escape. And that's what I love to do. It reminds me of my favorite scripture, that the whole world is yearning in anticipation for the revealing of the sons of God. And so here I am, I believe, called right now for this purpose to do the content that I've been able to do. And I feel like I was ahead of my time because I've been doing this back in 2000, when it wasn't cool to even represent music artists crossing over, because I spent 15 years representing Usher and all of his television and film. So to your point, Gina, yeah, they say what they want to say, but before we did anything, Usher, Jeanette and I, we prayed over everything. I was like, we need to pray because this right here is going to drive me crazy. So we get ready to pray. So he would pray, me and Jeanette would pray, we would all pray, the band would pray, the dancers would pray. Then there I was in the middle reading that prayer. So I knew that I was supposed to be where I was, and I knew when it was time to transition, where I had been would have opened door to where I needed to go in order to advance the themes and concepts of hope and faith and redemption.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And you're so spot on. I mean, I just think about like the first time that I didn't do a lot of concerts and stuff because my mom had me on lockdown. But when I was in college, I remember I went to University of Wisconsin and going to Milwaukee, and I saw Christopher Williams and Stephanie Mills. And at the time, Donald Lawrence was Christopher Williams, Stephanie Mills' music director. Well, fast forward like a couple years later, and Donald, who is my friend, we work together. I've done work for him, being an icon in gospel music, but his aptitude and what he knows about music and his understanding of every genre is what makes him such an amazing producer. And so it's, what I'm hoping to do in part with this series is really just kind of intersect the worlds and show how we really are all overlapping and we all get our gifts from multiple influences.
That's right.
Speaking of influences,
Fantasia, who's on the Easter special, she takes us to church
all day, every day.
I mean, she's singing, and I haven't said this, to any of the other outlets, but I had her singing a medley of the blood songs. And the blood songs are sang on first Sunday, and that is what can wash away my sins, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Every time I would watch her cut, I would be like, somebody give me teacher. I mean, it was just,
makes you want to take your shoes off.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. And there we were able to merge the sacred and the Gina secular. They came together in a wonderful way. And that's what I love doing. I love creating a merge where people can collectively experience something that makes them feel good.
Absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen who might be in our audience watching, I am so glad Janine made it. I'm going to pause real quick before I give a kind of summary questions and see if we have questions from other people, but I will look, Janine. So let me tell you something. First of all, everyone, She's not tardy. She, in her world of balance that we were just talking about, she got things to do, honey. Janine was, before this, handling some affairs with the Grammys because she had to speak with them and other things in her career life that keep her busy. Ladies, gentlemen, Janine McLean-Williams, my sister, my friend, I'm going to tell you about her bio. She's going to say hello. She's going to tell you a little bit about her. And this is the perfect way to kind of bring this all in and round it out. Hi, Janine.
Hi. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for understanding. We all know that this business is 24/7. And when those emergency calls come, you just drop and roll and get your business going. So, but I made a commitment to you that I would join and join with all these wonderful ladies. So I said, if they're still on, I'm jumping in. So thank you so much.
We are here and we are here for it. So I'm gonna share your bio if you don't mind, because I had the people have got to know who has entered the room.
Just
And
a little
like I
bit.
said,
Don't
quick
go
question,
crazy.
and I know I'm looking at our time. I think, Dr. Holly, you have a commitment, and look, honey, whatever, we talked about it, balance, duty calls. So you just, whenever you got to, we love you, we got you. As a part of the powerhouse management team for MBK Entertainment for almost 20 years, Janine has garnered a reputation for being hard-nosed businesswoman, but with a nurturing spirit and a light, if you ask me. Taking an artist from obscurity to fame is no small task, and an integral part of the team that has created lightning in a bottle more than a few times. First, with Alicia Keys. So you missed me earlier, Janine, when I got to talk about these ladies and their credentials. Like, it's like there's one thing you can say. It's like we should just end the panel. Okay, first with Alicia Keys. First, really? Okay. First with Alicia Keys, who she represented with the illustrious Jeff Robinson for 14 plus years. And in that time, of course, we know Miss Keys has sold over 200 million albums, won 14 Grammys, and has sold out tours around the world, grossing more than 900 million in ticket sales. Come on, touring, come on back. And endorsement deals with major everybody. Janine, most recently, because I'm gonna jump to it because it was like, I'm so excited for you. Most recently included in her management repertoire and roster is, I know this girl some of y'all might have heard of. Her name is Her. Congratulations on your Grammy last week.
True, but thank you.
Yeah, Grammys. That whole best song thing though, like, I mean, okay.
Thank you.
Two Grammys last week, but they represent the Her, been under the MBK umbrella and in development since she was 12 years old. And now at 22, she has over 1 billion streams, has garnered over 10 nominations and won 4 Grammy Awards. And has sold her own domestic and internet, sold out international and domestic tours, grossing more than 20 million in sales in just 3 years. Janine, thank you so much for being here. The first thing I want to ask you, my dear, is tell us how it happened. Tell us, where did the career begin? We've been having kind of some girl talk where we're sort of talking about where it began and where it's led us and how we have balance, but definitely, I mean, when you get to the top and you represent this kind of talent, how do you even start?
I'm gonna give you the super abbreviated version. But music has been in my family for a while. My grandfather was a professional bass player. My stepfather was a singer with Burt Bacharach. My uncle was a concert tour promoter. That's kind of where I kind of stepped in when I was a teenager. He would take us to shows, while my sister and cousins and everybody were like running after the artists and the boys. I was shadowing him, trying to learn the business. It just seemed so interesting to me. He started to let me kind of run errands and do things. I'm gonna super fast forward to many years later, I was able to start my own European concert touring business, which was super, super cool. Got to learn a lot about, touring and the whole international marketing game. And then I'm going to super jump ahead again. Through a mutual friend, I met Jeff Robinson. I started to, work for MEK, just kind of in an independent role, just doing like some special events and things. And he was like, this Alicia project is finally coming out. This is 2002, excuse me. You should come over here full time. So at the time I had a very illustrious corporate job that I loved, but I threw it all to the wind and said, I'm going to take this leap of faith and I'm joining this independent boutique company and I'm going to make it work. Totally fearless and just jump right in 2 feet. And we just have been grinding and hustling. We're like the quiet giants. We're a very small team. But we just, we just work so hard and we just put our heart and soul into it. We all share the thought of, we're doing this to help people realize their dreams, right? So we put everything into it. Jeff, we're working silos. Jeff is on the music creative side. I don't even go to the studio. I'll be perfectly honest. That's not my thing. Like that whole repetition of hearing the songs over and over again, I'm like, it all's going to start to sound the same in 2 seconds. So not my thing. Go ahead, man, do your thing. Pick those hits. Then afterwards, I get involved with, now we're branding the project, marketing. So I've always been the big deal, the person that brings in the money and big opportunities. That's just my thing. And he leaves me alone. And then we have another portion of our team, Misha Mays. She handles all of the scheduling and making sure that all of the pieces work together smoothly, which is super duper important. So we're very siloed. We are teeny tiny, but I will have to say that we just make it work. And we are just thankful and we pray every day and we're just thankful. You don't know how thankful. I mean, every day people are like, how do you feel? Thankful. That's what we could say is like thankful. After every, and right after the Grammys, her got the Oscar nomination. We were like, okay, come on, God, let's go. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going. So we're just, thankful to be able to show that, this quiet giant, this African-American owned company is doing it consistently. So we're hoping that we are an encouragement and inspiration to many.
You absolutely nailed everything we talked about on the panel today and then some. Let me tell you what I love about every single one of you women, and then I want to see if we have questions. It's this: whether I've known you for 20 plus years or 20 plus weeks, each of you, no matter how powerful, how busy, how overextended you are responsive and grounded and so just warm. And I think that that's a misnomer. I think a lot of people think that women like you aren't that way. I've known Janine a while. And even though we might only intersect, connect, hey, hi, bye, a text here or there over the years, no matter how much success, how many Grammys, how many hundreds of millions of dollars later are under her management, the text is returned. She shows up even after being on a Grammy panel, having an emergency, just integral and honorable. Dr. Holly and I have recently started doing business together, and I feel like I've known her my whole life. Adrian was recommended to me for production and then starts talking about her career. And I'm like, what? And you get to produce my show? What? I mean, Gina, Kerry, Stacey, all of you are amazing, not just at what you do with excellence, with integrity, with longevity. Hello, but you are beautiful women who every day show up, every day do it with purpose, every day do it with grace. And I honor and salute you all and I'm so grateful. Like, I really mean this. I really might cry, but we're gonna go to questions. I am so grateful to be sharing this stage, if you will, virtual or not, with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Adrian, if there are questions, where will we find them? Ladies, if anyone, again, I understand schedules, families, duty. Yes, Dr. Holly. Yep. Mhm.
Bless you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. Nice
Thank
to-
you so much. For those of you who can stay, we'll see if there's a few questions we can answer and provide a little bit of interaction. Are there? I don't see them, so let's see what we got. I know I saw some popping up while we were going.
Looks like a former self question.
I saw, oh,
what
go
would
ahead.
you
Yeah,
ask your
what would you
teenage
ask your
self
younger
before?
self?
Yeah, what would you ask your teenage self of you before your journey began? What advice or how would you advise your teenage self before your journey began?
I like it. How would you advise your teenage self if you could? There we go. Anyone?
You know, well, for me right now, I think I would advise my teenage self that nothing will be wasted. Like every disappointment, every loss, everything that you thought was a negative, every difficult moment will absolutely be used for the positive, for the good, for your understanding, for your preparation, for your protection. All of it will be absolutely used at some point. Nothing will be wasted in your journey.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to take that one?
I would advise my teenage self something that I actually do all the time, but wasn't aware of it when I was younger. So I would tell myself, you know what I'm saying? But I can share it with other people, is just to be the best version of yourself, you know, at all times. I find a lot of people, you know, seek me to talk to me and ask me questions, and they want to know how I got to where I am, what was my journey, what was my experience, and, you know, oh, I want to be just like you, and I'm trying to be like you. And I always tell all those people, as long as you're trying to imitate what I've done or be just like me, you're always going to be second, because I'm the first and best version of myself. So if you can do that, you know, with yourself, no one can be you. None of us here can be each other. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the advice that I would give someone. As long as you're trying to be like someone else, you're always going to be second. So just be the best version of yourself.
Sure. I'll just quickly say, I've said this in my earlier comments, but I would tell my younger self to be fearless. You know, that's something that I think that, you know, not just women, but all people, you know, experience that holds them back. Like they might be afraid to make a decision or to make a change or make a move or, you know, to commit to something. And you know, just, of course, do your research, have a safety net, you know, be smart, make smart decisions, but be fearless. Like there's exciting stuff out there if you allow yourself the chance to go out and experience it.
Yes. I'm actually going to answer, and I know I'm the moderator, but I do want to say this, that every single loss, trial, failure, challenge, oh my God, I'll never get through that, I ever had prepared me for something later that when it came, I was able to know for certain it couldn't take me out. And I don't know, when you're in it and you're young, that you realize what God is preparing you for and what is on the other side of that. But I promise you, and I know each of you well, I know you all feel as bulletproof as I do. And that doesn't mean we don't have days where we just want to curl up in a fetal position and cry. However, what we know for sure is that all of those bruises and bangs have made us strong and a little bit Teflon, so that we know when COVID comes, when recession comes, that we're going to figure it out. We just are. And that gives such a peace when you're grown to know that whatever it's going to be, as long as I'm breathing, it's still all right. It's a powerful, powerful thing if you could try to hold on to that through those times.
I call that trust the process.
Yeah.
You better say it in 3 words.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, one of our viewers, a couple of them actually, Tajma, I hope I said that correctly. Tajma Beverly. She would like to ask Ms. Miller and Ms. McLean, how do you decide what artists you work with? It seems like artist development is a lost art now, and artists are expected to do this work on their own. What were and are the development opportunities and how to connect with them?
Come on, part 2 of the series.
Listen, that is a whole nother series, right? I'm gonna say my response really quickly, and I'm gonna toss it over to Janine. But I think that there's a few key points that were said about why or why not artists and talent development is still a thing or not. And I'm just gonna say, first and foremost, talent still is a thing. Like having talent that can, I mean, we're a for-profit company, so we need talent that we can market and we can sell. But talent's not the only thing. I also think that, you know, there is some idea here that where the lack of or the inability or what seems like unwillingness for some companies might be, it's going to be the word right here, maturity. You can only develop what people are open to. And maturity is another thing that I've now added to our list of what I'm looking for, because if without the maturity, you can't even get to possibility. You can't even realize what could even be possible and make plans or strategy for it, when maturity really blocks a lot of what could be possible, including development, including just being oriented to what it takes to be successful. So I would say talent, talent still is a big thing. You gotta, I mean, it starts and ends with a great song, but I can also say it doesn't take the most talented to be successful. It takes the most disciplined. It takes the person that takes their responsibility serious. And it takes a person whose personality is willing to connect and can be authentic and genuine. So I think all of those things play into if someone has the capability to be developed well or not.
I'll quickly add to that. You are 100% correct on that maturity line, because there's plenty of people you're like, oh yeah, you are not, and you are not going to stress me out. So.
Yeah, you're not ready. Listen.
You are not, but definitely, as you said, talent. And then the other part is, I mean, we definitely go on, I know it's going to sound cliche, but we go on vibes and personality for sure. I mean, think of how much time you have to spend with an artist in a plane for 15 hours. If it's a long flight to, somewhere far overseas, if it's, in the studio for hours, it's so much time spent. And if that person is just not genuinely a good person, not going to be able to do it. Like, you have to really foresee if you can spend a lot of good time with them. Also, make sure you're not creating a monster. That's another thing. Some people you could tell is like, oh, if this person becomes famous, they're going to give you their behind the kiss so quick. Yeah. Nope, not doing that either. And you just got to feel that this person really wants it badly. Like they gotta want it more than you want it for them. Otherwise, you're just gonna be wasting everybody's time. And again, don't got time to be wasting. Don't have time to be stressed out. We're doing this to bring people's dreams to life and fruition. Let's do it with kindness and care and joy and that's it. You have to be able to foresee all of that.
I mean, artists really need to work on that part too. That needs to be developed before, while you're working on your songs. Work on your kindness and your care. Like, for sure. Let me go back to mute. Really, like, some things, studio and budget and financial support doesn't fix. Like, we can go to the studio all day, but that we can't fix it in the studio. Like, you get some of that, you gotta be perfecting along the way.
Yes. We've been lucky though. I will say we've been fortunate. So, the art of artist development is not dead. Like, if you're not developing, if you're not spending that time developing that artist, making sure that their voice is strong, trust me, anybody knows. You see, the first time an artist has to do a 1-hour show and loses their breath after the first 15 minutes, forget it. It's over. You got to, it takes a long time to develop that, that breathing muscle and that, ability to stay on the stage 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it is. So there's a lot of development that is super important.
So I know that there's a trillion more questions. I'm going to offer two things. Number one, I'm going to ask a last question that if you want to answer it, you can. And then I'm going to just say that we can wrap, or if there is anyone that wants to do the after the party, it's the after party. I feel like it's like a clubhouse meeting or something that just they never end, dude. Like there's some that like were on last week that are on right now still, I feel like. But more than happy, because I really am grateful. And I know that this audience is quite large. I think we sold out or near sold out. So my question to you is this, and then we'll kind of have some options of how we create our balance. What's coming up? What you got next? I mean, as if y'all ever need to do another thing. You don't. But what's next? Stacy?
I'll say something.
Go, Kerry.
Oh, so in the fall, I project managed this project that I'm really passionate about. We brought together all these Bay Area hip hop artists and singers and comedians as well to shine a light on housing injustice, particularly here in Oakland. So we did a video mixtape. It's an hour and a half long. I'm really proud of it. And because we were trying to engage younger voters about housing injustice, but because it was so noisy around the election time, we are re-releasing in May. It features people like Guapale, Fantastic Negrito, David Diggs, Zion I, etc. It's just got tremendous talent in it. And so we're going to re-release it in May, and in May is Affordable Housing Month. So we'll shine a light on that. And then we're going to do a part 2 this summer, which is going to be about housing that can often be really challenging for artists. There's a lot of people that like they get an apartment in LA and 8 people live there while they're trying to make their music career happen, and so we're going to talk about sort of that side of the story of for music artists that are up and coming, trying to make it happen. Like maybe they work at Amazon and then they're also, it's a struggle. So that's going to be the second part. So I'm really excited about it. It's called the Haven Project.
That's awesome.
Sounds great.
Stace?
Well, I trust the process and I got here serendipitously, but what I do definitely have coming up is in September, I have an exhibit opening up at the Academy Museum, which is really exciting for me. It's nothing I would have ever dreamed of when I started doing hair, being featured in a museum. So that's amazing to me. And
I was losing it when you sent me that agreement. I was like, can you take a look at this? This is for a museum exhibition, ma'am. What are we doing?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's amazing. And talking about being inspired by other women, Ruth Carter, she is a huge inspiration, and she has an exhibit in Atlanta at SCADS, I believe, and we'll also have at the Academy. And just to be side by side with her, for those of you who don't know who she is, wardrobe extraordinaire, has a star on Hollywood, first Black woman ever nominated, first Black woman to ever win, and like I said before, I'm not trying to be like her, but she inspires me to be the best me, and that is amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Gina, before you jump, do you want to say what you got cooking, or you got
there's so much happening around us. I'm just grateful that I'm halfway vaccinated. It's time to get back to work.
Come through.
And we have some really good stuff coming down the pipe. So I'm really excited about what this next quarter and the rest of this year looks like. I'm just grateful that we've been able to really pivoting wasn't that hard for us through the pandemic because we already were doing a lot of virtual events. So I'm just blessed that things are as good as they are for us. And I just am more than grateful to be able to continue during a time where, it's tough. It's still very tough out here for a lot of working folk and for us, we're just blessed. So I'm really grateful to be able to just simply continue right now. I'm like Stacey, I'm trusting the process. Whatever, you know, our release schedule is pretty loaded, and I'm grateful for that too. They even have work, have enough work to be able to smile about it. Be happy. Exactly. So, what'd you say, Heather?
I said we got a few people to talk about after this.
Oh yes, yes. No, but let me just thank you for this platform. Let me thank you for being. I mean, you talked about all of us, but we've done a few things together. And I just want to say thank you for being the inspiration, really, that you are, and the valuable player in all these different areas that you have found yourself in, and continue to make new. I mean, here you are making history in Women's History Month, doing more and more and more. Always pro woman, girl. Look, that girl life has always been you. So this is not surprising to anyone that knows you. You've been rocking girl power. And holding that up for us for a long time. So just thank you for real.
Thank you so much, Gina.
Absolutely.
Janine, what you got next?
Well, I'm going to keep on with the mentorship programs that I partner in. There's like 5 of them. So that's a whole lot, but that's okay. Love doing it. We'll continue to do that. But even bigger and better than that is that touring is back. We are routed for the fall. We have 4 artists.
Wow.
We're fully routed for the
Come
fall.
Come on.
On hold, all of that.
Theaters,
We
Janine, theaters.
We got MSG in October. We
Okay.
have what's that big venue where we do Lights on Fest in the Bay? Do you know, Kerry? What's the name of that venue again? I'm blacking out.
The Cow Palace.
We do Lights on Fest. Concord Pavilion.
Concord
Pavilion.
Yes.
Yep.
Pavilion. So
What month is that?
that is going to be in September, and we're doing MSG in October, but we have
Awesome.
full routing again for all 4 of our artists right up in there in the fall, fully routed. So
All right. When's your on sale?
we are going on sale as soon as we get the green light. We're booked. We are told in each of these cities that we're set up in that we can go to full capacity. We're only going into markets where we can go to full capacity.
How many shows? I'm asking a million, I'm asking a million questions.
Oh, I see. All of us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen who are watching, what is now happening is that all these bosses are planning their next moves. All these tour managers and producers and event planners and record labels. And Stacey's like, "Oh, okay, I'm on tour."
Janine, I'm in a clubhouse.
Eddie's gonna go back out.
I'm in a clubhouse with Jeff Robinson every day.
Oh, I know. I see it. I see those notifications pop up. I can test
We are all standing by to stand by. We literally, like, I literally have a radio in my hand. I'm waiting. You know what I mean?
It's going down. I mean, we knew we had to come out of this, godforsaken time at some point. And I think we reached that. I mean, just for the sanity of folks and for the, for the economy. I mean, and I think, from a health and safety perspective, I think everyone will be vaccinated by that time. So we should all be okay. We're not trying to put nobody's lives in danger, but got to get back to work.
People eating again, and I know my staff is like, "Oh, even more work."
Yeah, I need to work.
Yes,
I need to live. Yeah,
but now look,
we need it.
Lady, you're not going.
There's like, hang on.
Now how do I do that, Janine? And go. So, Adrian, what do you have next? She's like.
Yeah,
I'm going on tour with Jeanine.
Right. Yeah, we are standing by to stand by pretty much. We're listening to folks like Janine. We are having conversations. Every Thursday we have an international touring clubhouse on Thursday morning where we're hearing in real time from our colleagues across the water, hearing about what's going on in every place that you can imagine. People come in and check in. So we are seriously standing by to bring the people back their live entertainment. We need it.
I love it.
Thank God.
We need it.
Well, all of you, much more success, much more fulfillment, much more love, and of course, soul reciprocity to all of you. I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for you. I can't wait. We must do part 2. And for all of you who joined, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to remind you, in the spirit of soul reciprocity, if you did not donate to the James Brown Family Foundation or the Gospel Music Association, throw a dollar their way. They're throwing dollars towards a lot of musicians and people in need in the industry during COVID and other amazing things that they do on the ground in arts and entertainment. I will
And
see
we need to
you
make
all-
sure that the kids have music education in schools so that their brains work right when they come out of school.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And
That.
so be well, be safe. And until next time, I'm Heather Beverly, and this is the Focus on Faith web series. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.